Hey guys, this is Mikey. Welcome back to the channel. This is Mikey R6 channel. R6 is actually behind you, but we have a Suzuki GSXR 600 2005. And I will show you today how to replace the front brake pads. So we're gonna work on the front brake pads on GSXR 600. We actually have Brambo new racing brake pads available. So we're gonna install this on the front calipers. For this, we're gonna need to have a new brake pads for sure. Then some brake cleaner, some brush to clean up the pistons, and some usual tools which you have in the garage too. It's really easier if you put the bike on the racing stand. You can also put it on the side stand, but it's going to be a little bit harder to work on the side where the side stand is. So it's really easier to put it like this. The front calipers are attached to the front fork with two bolts at the top and at the bottom. And once we loosen up these bolts, we'll remove the front caliper. And then we have two pinch bolts which are actually holding the brake pads in the caliper. So we'll have to loose up the front bolts. If you are changing front brake pads, it's a good idea to bleed the brakes as well, because once you are trying to get the best stopping power from the front brakes, it's always good to have fresh brake fluid and also fresh brake pads. At the beginning, it might be a little bit harder to get the bolt off, because usually I'm using the Loctite for the screws, not to unscrew them out. So it might be a little bit harder to get it out at the first step. So you have to break off that resistance from the Loctite inside. So once we have bolts out, we'll put it aside, not to lose them. It's really easy to get the caliper off because it's been held just with those two screws. So you kind of wiggle it up and down, and then slide it out from the brake disc. So this is the caliper. It's a little bit dirty from all the brake dust which is coming from the brake pads. They are not in the worst condition, but it's always the best to have it on a race bike and the top specs. So we'll replace these with the brand new ones from Brambo. To get the front caliper brake pads off from the caliper itself, you have to loosen up these two pinch bolts, which are actually holding the brake pads on the position on the pistons. So we have to loosen up these two bad boys. Loosen these up, get them out. Hold it with a thumb, because otherwise it will fall out immediately. So this is one bolt. You can see that kind of light top. I have used the Loctite, so that's why it come off a little bit harder. So one pinch bolt out. second pinch bolt out. Now just take the brake pads and just slide them out. That's it. So these are used from brake pads, a little bit of mass being left, so it's not that bad regarding the usage, but it's always good to use the new ones. For the first of all, you can take that bracket which is inside off, but it doesn't really make sense to take it off because doesn't really restrict anything we want to do. So now currently when we have these brake calipers off, you can see the 4 pistons which are sticking out. So good idea, once you have it off, it's a good idea to clean this area up, not to get any dirt or any brake dust inside these brake pistons, because they can get stuck or it can get heat up a little bit more as usual, and then it can be transferred to the brake lines and brake fluid. So use some old t-shirt or something to not spill everything around. Take a brake cleaner and spray the inside of the calipers. With the pressure of that brake cleaner, you will get some dust and dirt out. Take an old toothbrush, kind of wiggle it around, get it off. It's really recommended to do this every time when you change the brake pads, because once you have the caliper off, it's really easy to get in there and get this dirty stuff out. Okay, nice and clean. Now clean it up a little bit. Let it suck out all the brake cleaner which is left off in the caliper. Clean it up. Okay, looks fine, looks okay to me. Now hang it a little bit, carefully, hang it down. Now let's take the new brake pads. Get these together. Take the brake caliper and put this nicely in, like this. They're nicely in, they fit, it's a good news. Now, we'll take these pinch bolts, a little bit clean them up, not to get the dirt inside, and slide them through the hole to secure the brake pads inside. One, first one, second one. Now, it's a good idea. Once you're doing this, those are the brakes, right? So it's a good idea to use the Loctite. It's a blue one, so it's middle strength. So it's a good idea to kind of put a little bit of Loctite on this pinch bolt, not to get the problematic, not to get the problems in the future, to kind of like let these bolts wiggle out. So get this in. There is no recommended torque, so I would say nice and tight. First one, second one, double check. we have the pinch bolts nicely in and secured the brake pads. Now we have to take the flathead screwdriver, because as you can see, the margin between those two brake pads is really close, and we have to stick it in on the brake disc. So really gently and nicely put the screwdriver in and push the brake pistons in like this to get the distance you can work with. So nicely, easy and smoothly put your brake pistons in, so we have nice wide margin to work with. Now the finalizing part is to keep it aside and kind of wiggle it in to the position. Now take the bolts, put the little Loctite on them as well. This is okay and enough. Get the first one, wiggle it in. First one, second one. Now take the tools. So once you put the bolts in, the upper and lower bolt, it's a good idea not to tighten it right away. So as you can see, there is a little bit of free play at the brake caliper. The reason is why I didn't tie them on right away is that it's a good idea to press the brake lever to apply the pressure and let the brake caliper to sit on naturally. Because once you are tight this up, you will kind of lock the caliper in one position, and that might not be the ideal position for the caliper to work. So once we press the brake lever, pump it out a little bit, to get the pressure on, and to hold the brake, get the tool, and then tight up the bolts for the caliper tighter than before, to get rid of the free play which we intentionally left on the caliper. So now the front caliper sits on the front brake disc naturally, and we didn't force it into kind of like a weird position. So now it'd be in the best natural position according to the brake disc. So we will get that maximum braking feel, and we will get that maximum precision from the brake pads as well. Now, before you tie them up, it's good to look up the torque values from the manual, from the manufacturer, from Suzuki. So we'll get the torque wrench, and we'll get the values from the manual, and we'll tie this bolt up. So we have our torque wrench, and we looked up the right value for the bolts from the front. Don't do it by heart. Don't do it like, I think this is good enough. We are talking about brakes, right? So it's the best to get it as good as we can. So it's good to look up values from the manual. So it's 39 Newton meters. So we'll get the torque wrench set up for 39 Newton meters. So we have our torque wrench set up. We'll get these adapters off, get them on, and I'll just get this to the pop First one is done. Second is done. Guys, so that's an easy job that we've just done. The left side, right side, exactly the same. You don't have any surprises on the right side. It's exactly the same caliper as on the left side. So you have just two bolts which are holding the caliper on the front fork. You have two pinch bolts which are holding the brake pads in the caliper. Don't forget to clean the caliper off, clean the pistons, and don't forget to bleed the brakes and change the brake fluid, because once you are doing the brakes, just do the whole package. It's easier to have it all done. I would give this 2 out of 10. You don't need to have really a lot of tools. It's easy job to do. You can do it by yourself. If you want to see how to bleed the brakes, if you want to see how to set up the free play on the handlebars or the brake lever or anything else, just write down the comment. We'll take a look at it. These are the easy jobs you can do in your garage by yourself. Just let me know any questions down below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like. Thanks for watching. See you next time.